And to the panel, and before I get into more controversial politics, I want to give you some happy news, but I guess it's only going to be happy news if you're conservative, or maybe you're getting sick and tired of being on the left, you're looking for a better option. Here it is. Joining me on this Tuesday panel is Louise Elliott, business consultant, the Hobart City Councillor, and Will Kingston, host of Australiana, a weekly podcast from the Spectator on politics and culture. And Will, straight to you, because I was in fact struck by something by a guest you've just had on that podcast. Excellent stuff. Canadian Professor Gad Saad is the author and evolutionary behavioural scientist, quite famous, suggesting why it seems conservatives tend to be happier than people on the left. Here he is.
And I offer, again, a speculative argument as to why that might be the case. Conservatives, by the very nature of the word conserve, they do wake up existentially thinking that there are things that are worthy of conserving, certain deontological principles that are worthy of conserving. On the other hand, the progressive wakes up existentially angry because the current world is a bad world, and just around the corner there is unicornia, which if only we can eradicate the current sexist, racist, misogynistic, transphobic status quo, we'll get to nirvana.
Well, Will, does that strike you as true that conservatives are happy because they think there's a lot here that is worth keeping?
It does. I owe you a beer, by the way, for the promotion, Andrew. Thank you. It certainly does, and the data is actually undeniable about this. I've been doing a bit more reading since speaking to Gard on this point, and what I've been reflecting on is that despite the really good story that the right has to tell about how you can live your life in a happy way, and you will be happier, the right remains terrible with branding. If you stop and think about it, the left has done an incredibly good job at putting lipstick on the pig, which is leftist ideology. And if you stop thinking, wokeism is so absolutely depressing. It's such a depressing ideology. And yet for some reason, it still maintains this kind, happy, tolerant image. I think the right needs to work really hard to start telling their story better, to start saying that this is a positive, happy side of politics, because at the moment I don't think we do that particularly well.
Louise, you've actually been you've been on the polling booths down your way, handing out flyers to people who are voting early in this referendum. I wonder whether this observation holds true here, talking about the referendum, because it seems to me a lot of the yes campaigners seem much angrier than the no ones, right? They seem to think this is a rotten society, we're all evil and Nazis everywhere and all this kind of thing. While the no campaigners seem to be thinking, we're getting on, what's this race war about?
Yes, definitely. The point there that the podcast guest made around that unicorn sort of utopia world, I think that is really ringing true. And there's a lot of angry people on the left out there who are, vicious at the world at the moment. And I did see that. The difference between the voter types was really quite stark. And I would actually say that in Hobart, which is can be quite a left-leaning city, it was probably about 50-50 in terms of the people who I would guess were voting yes, and probably from a place of anger, versus the people who were voting no, and they were eager to get their vote out of the way, frankly, because they're sick of it. And they're sick of that feeling of division and of race being an issue in our society, which they've never really experienced before. So they're split around people who are angry at the world and those who just want to get on with things and have a society full of equals. It was really quite obvious to me today, yes, definitely.